And welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We have on the line with us none other than the head football coach himself, Coach Heist Northern. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, everything's going fine today. I tell you what, man, you don't realize how good and bad life can be until you don't have a cell phone anymore. I've been without mine for a few days, and like this, it's been a blessing and a curse at the same time.
I do understand, sir. It's one of them things you didn't realize, as you say, you can live with and without, but I'd rather try to live with than without. So welcome back to society, right?
Yeah, it helps a lot when you got kids, but like I say, sometimes, there's sort of a couple of days without it. You don't get the certain phone calls with people. They can't get in contact with you to ask you to do certain things, and definitely can't contact you with a handout looking for a little pocket change.
So is that why you didn't take my call, Coach?
Oh, no. Hey, if you did call, I didn't know you called.
No, I'll just give you a hard time.
Yeah.
Hey, look, man, we had some games this past weekend, did we not?
Man, it was a lot of close ones. It started off with the Thursday night game, and it continued through the weekend. I think Prairie View might have been the last game to end, and that game came down to a last-second field goal. So it was some good football. Like I say, I watched the Alabama A&M Pine Bluff game, and like I say, just kept on going through the weekend off and on with football. So it was some good football being played. And if you look at it, a lot of games, especially when you get to conference play, it's going to be decided by 10 points or less. Sort of like no matter who you playing against, you can take the best of the best and the worst of the worst. And if those teams are relatively healthy, sometimes it's funny how the game end up being close at the end of the day.
Right. Well, it lets us know, too, that regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on, with a couple of exceptions, we pretty much have the same talent pool to tap into. Every now and then you might get an edge on a star or two above than what we're accustomed to falling in on. But it just speaks of the spirit of competition that goes throughout the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
I think when the competition, there's still a lot of teams with a lot to play for. So right now you don't have anybody that's out of the race per se, because they still have a chance if things go well with a couple other teams winning the ball game. So that's going to keep people playing a little bit harder than you would if it's the last week of the season or last 2 weeks, and a team clearly knows that they are out of playing and they might not, like they say, have anything to play for. They don't have a chance to play the spoiler to keep somebody else from going. So it's just let's go out here and practice a little bit and let's get it over with, more than it is to let's get better and find out a way to win a football game. So right now, still a lot of people with a lot to play for.
Well, Coach, I would normally agree with you on 99.8% of that you just stated. But that 0.2% that I'm going to scratch my head on is what's going on with Mississippi Valley. I know it has always been a institution of particular challenges, and I'm not dogpiling on them because I really root for them because of the circumstances they have. But I think, Coach, and you've been in the shoes way advanced than I have, I think part of the challenge is they're trying to operate as if the others are operating instead of creating their own unique style of operating in what they have.
Well, like I said, I can't speak for him, but I know Coach is putting his best foot forward, and it's some unique challenges being at Mississippi Valley. If you've ever been out there, number one is just getting there and getting kids there, getting kids that want to play football there. So a lot of times you may take some guys or get some guys that's some real good, tough football players, but they may not meet all the measurables. Then once they get there is keeping them there. To say at one time Valley used to get a lot of guys out of the Delta, and then they would go up into Tennessee and keep on going up to Memphis area, Chicago, and still find some good football players, guys that just wanted a chance to play football that might not have got the the Big 10, Big 12 looks or the MAC looks, but it's still some good football players, and they could tap into the junior college ranks pretty good and get some football players. But a lot of times it was, can you keep them there? You know, will they get bored being in the Delta when it's not football season? Or can you keep them around? And then I know at one time Valley had guys that were on full scholarship, but a lot like Prairie View a few years back, the university would take, say, a kid's Pell Grant and use part of the kid's Pell Grant to pay for a scholarship, and it made him look like he was on full scholarship. So it's a lot of things like that that was going on and may still be going on that makes it harder for them to, first of all, get guys. Then it makes it harder. Now in the NIL days, if a guy goes to Valley and has a pretty good year, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to stick around Valley when he can go maybe even to another SWAC school, Alcorn or Jackson, where he can get a little bit of NIL money, and he gets to keep his Pell Grant. You know, that's a couple $1,000s coming to some of those kids' pockets.
Right. Well, it brings this dreaded question, and it's been kicked around for years. Do you, not as a conference, you don't put anybody out, but Savannah State have made the jump to Division I in the MEAC, and then they analyzed themselves and they went back to D2. Do you think that Valley would do better as a D2, dare I say even an NAIA program?
I would have to look at it, you know, from a monetary standpoint, but I would think so. I think because of what they can get as being a part of the conference, I would say staying is viable for them, because I'm pretty sure had, you know, enough people have been through the doors of Mississippi Valley to say it's not beneficial for us to be a Division I program. Let's move to Division II. Then if you move to Division II, do you still have the same access to the type of kids that they may be getting now? I would say maybe yes, but then some kids are going to look down on them being a Division II program. And then who are they going to play against? And then when they play, just say if they move into.
Okay, Coach.
Games. Yeah.
Okay, you faded out. You said if they move into, I guess you're about to say Division II. If we went out.
Yeah, so if they move into Division II, are they still going to have people coming to the games like they would if they still were playing the Gremlins, the Alcorns, the Jackson States of the world that maybe come every other year? You know, they may still be able to play those schools, but those schools will probably say, we'll never come to Mississippi Valley and play. You have to come to us. And maybe now Valley is playing money games against SWAC schools instead of having those SWAC schools come to their stadium. And I was talking to a coach that was at one of the schools in the MEAC that left the MEAC, and how they were talking about their attendance has gone down, especially when they're not playing against a historically black college. Okay. So they're not making the money that they were at the time that they were in the MEAC.
Okay, so then here's another potential antidote. If you hire we're talking football, of course, in this case, if you hire a football coach, you can't just give him a normal hire process that you would like another institution, a 3 or 4 year deal. Wouldn't it be best to try to extend maybe a 5 or 6 year deal to a coach, especially a first year coach, to give them time to try to sort this thing out? Or is it not enough time with this right now status that we have today?
Well, I think it's a two-way thing, because if a coach goes to Valley and has some success, 9 times out of 10, somebody else is going to poach him from you. So that's a good thing to have, somebody wanting to coach from your school. But the extended contract, a lot of times, if you see a coach that gets an extended contract, he's usually hired late in the recruiting process, maybe a mid-January, or maybe some coaches that leave after signing day. They may get a little bit of contract leeway as opposed to a coach that's hired, say, in early December, where he gets a chance to bring in some junior college players, maybe bring in some transfers early in January when school starts. So it's a, like I say, a double-edged sword. Yeah, it's good, but at the same time, if that coach is not going to get things to set him up down the line in terms of the correct number of coaches or being able to pay his coaches to keep good coaches around, or being able to have a strength coach that can, get those guys going, then all that other stuff, paying the head coach a lot of money, is not going to be beneficial to the overall program when that money needs to be spread in some different areas.
Right. Well, and not necessarily even putting a huge paycheck in his back pocket, but the extension. Okay, you might not be able to get, I'm just throwing a number out there so I don't want anybody to listen to think that this is what it is. Okay, instead of me being able to give you $150,000 a year for 3 to 4 years, I can give you $100,000 for 6 years, and then let's take creative ways. And that's what I'm saying, stepping outside of the box to try to find some type of formula. But I know you can't use the regular formula that's being used in every other program within the conference.
But the problem is, what coach is going to take that job? Unless you may find a young up-and-coming coach, but the likelihood of him staying that long is not going to be good if he has success. So you're going to be back in the same boat a couple of years from now, and no other coach is going to want to say take $100,000 or $150,000 when a whole lot of other coaches are getting close to the 3s and 4s in the same conference. So you're going to end up, like I say, either with somebody that's real old that sort of don't care, or somebody that's trying to relight that fire, much like Coach Comedy did. He gave it a shot, but at the end of the day, it's going to be an uphill battle trying to keep your coaches around, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that's what makes it a very interesting factor, and I've been on record for even stating, and we're going to get off of this because we got some more football to talk, but it's just happened to be what's in front right now. Dare you remove football from Valley and focus on basketball as your premier money sport, and then the rest of your Olympic sports?
I mean, that might not be a bad idea because of the funds that football takes when you talk about overall budget. But like I say, you might come out better going D2 from an overall program than going no football at all. But then will the SWAC let you stay in the conference if you don't have football? So that's just another thought before you say, well, I'll do this, so we'll get rid of that, and try to figure out that piece of the puzzle when it comes up.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Georgetown, they play FCS football, but then everything else is Division I in their other sports. Could it be something unique like that?
It very well could be, but like I say, you have to look at where Georgetown is located. It's not in the hotbed of football, because I know for a while they were Division III. And then you also, too, have to look at the amount of money that Georgetown basketball, because it's been associated with the Big East for a long time, how much they were bringing in. So it's a lot of factors that go into it. But like I say, somebody smarter than me going to have to make that decision.
Man, look, you're pretty smart and sharp as a tack, but we're gonna leave that alone. But let's go over some of these games, Coach, and what you were able to analyze from your coach's chair.
Well, like I say, the Prairie game, I thought it was going to be a close game because both teams would be able to run the ball. Both teams are stout against the run at times. But like I said, special teams, man, Prairie View place kicker is a weapon to behold on his own. And I mentioned it early in the season. I had a chance to go up and watch him practice. Actually, last year, I went to a spring practice and watched the kid practice. And it was a beautiful sight to behold, just watch that kid effortlessly make 40 to 45-yard field goals. It's like he didn't care where they put the ball, what kind of pressure. Okay, all right, if you miss this kick, the whole team got to run. He's like, I got this. Y'all don't even have to worry about, tightening your shoes back up. So,
right.
He's a weapon to behold. And he came through with another. He made the game-winning kick against Texas Southern in overtime, and then he comes back and make the walk-off kick against Alcorn. So that he's a weapon, definitely. But like I say, it's still some good football. Then I think the game that surprised everybody was how close and it definitely surprised me how close was the Jackson and Bethune game. Yes. And I understand, like you say, you can see how not having a kicker pretty much affected the Jackson State game. With them, number one, it changed football, the field position. Then it makes you have to go for it on fourth down because you don't have somebody that can kick field goals for you. So it changes the whole way you go into a football game and your coaching thought process. Once you cross the 50-yard line, you may punt the ball a little bit more since your defense is playing good, rather than, all right, let's give it a chance and try to see if we can get another first down and get into field goal range. It's almost like either we have to score or we have to punt. There's no in between, depending on the down and distance on fourth down.
Absolutely, and I guess it's safe to assume that Jackson State has finally turned the corner because they do have immense pressure on them. They really cannot afford to lose any other games in conference, which is all that remains, trying to catch up with FAMU.
Yeah, and they have to hope FAM loses twice, so that even adds more pressure when, like I say, you go into a game knowing that if we want to have a chance to play for the SWAC championship, we got to be perfect from here on out, and then we got to put a little something in the collection plate extra, so the football guards will make FAM lose twice on that side. And the closest thing I thought maybe somebody could beat them was Alabama State, and now that they've beaten Alabama State, I don't see anybody else on that side that might, Alabama A&M might can hang in there, but I don't see anybody else that's probably going to even play a close game with. But you never know what's going to happen when they play Bethune, too, because, that's like Prairie View, Texas Southern, Grambling, Southern, Alcorn, Jackson. No matter what the record is, you never know what you're going to get.
Absolutely. And like you said, that game was close between Bethune and Jackson. Bethune showed a lot of moxie, Coach. At least to me, they did.
Yeah, but like I say, you got to think about the field position aspect of the game and how that changed everything for Jackson, I think. And then Jackson offense may have put a little bit more pressure on themselves, feeling like, hey, we have to score because of the field position. Say if Bethune was getting the ball maybe at their 40-yard line, if they get one first down and punt, they pretty much putting Jackson in the position where they have to go 80 to 90 yards to score the football if they get a 35 to 40-yard punt on average. So that changes a whole lot in the ball game. Like I say, that's one of those things that people don't think about when they go into a game. Like, how does the coaching strategy have to change based off of field position and how your defense is playing? If your defense is playing pretty good, you may take fewer chances and run the ball a little bit more because you don't want to turn the ball over and put your defense in a bad spot. So, but like I say, fans don't want to hear that or see that. They just want the ball thrown and then, put in the end zone. I had somebody ask me the other day, why do coaches run the ball all the way downfield and then get to the red zone and throw the ball? The simple explanation for most fans that don't know, when you get in the red zone, 9 times out of 10, the defense is going to be blitzing, and it's going to be hard as I don't know what for you to still be able to run the ball when you get down there. The other thing why some people throw the ball, they know what the coverage is going to be. A lot of times it's going to be man-to-man or it's going to be cover 3. So if you know you're going to get man, then you say, okay, we may take the physical mismatch or we'll run us a bootleg and try to get the ball out in the flat. Or if it's cover 3, I know I can go slant with a flat route, or I can go full verticals and try to, get the ball to one of those slot receivers, or I may throw it outside to my guy that might have a height advantage. So, that is why sometimes you see people throwing the ball when they get in the red zone because they know they're going to see a 6-man or a 7-man blitz on the low end, and it might turn to everybody go, and then we'll pick up the couple of receivers that's left and hope we get to the quarterback before somebody gets open in the flats or something like that.
Right. It's really, at that point, a game of quick draw. If I can get to the quarterback quick, or can he get a release quick to get the odds working in your favor. So, once again, that's why we have you here, Coach, to break these things down. Now, your Jags had an off week. Any news coming out of Jag Nation this week, sir?
Hey, man, we were laughing because, my sister went to Grambling, and I was messing with her. Like, we were joking about the Tigers not going to lose that game. And I said, well, I know somebody that's not going to lose. Southern ain't losing this weekend, and you can bet on that. Then she said, well, they must not be playing nobody. And sure enough, they were off. So that's our little joke. But like I say, even the Grambling Texas Southern game turned out to be an exciting game. It came down to the last couple minutes of the ball game. So, but the Jags were off. From what I understand, it's not going to be major personnel changes. So the people that want to see it, they're going to be as surprised as I am. But, I think they tried to let some guys get healed up because they did, especially on the offensive line, which is to be expected. They were dealing with some ankle sprains here and there. One kid had a bad wrist. So, the biggest thing for those guys was just getting healthy, staying in shape, making sure everybody gets to the workouts, and then getting back on campus without something happening to somebody when they go back home or, on their way back to school. So I think they'll be a sort of well-rested group coming into the game next weekend. I'm not sure. I forgot exactly who they playing. We wasn't.
So the Jags will be taking on Pine Bluff, and we know Pine Bluff is not quite over the hump, but they are getting better each week.
Yeah, they had a hard-fought battle. Young quarterback made a mistake late in the ball game. As they were driving to tie the ball game up, the ball just comes out, sort of he gets hit from behind, and the ball comes flying in the air, and the guy from A&M ends up getting the ball, and that's how they secured the win. But it's one of those, like I say, they going to play tough. Like I say, coach is a high-energy guy, and I think he's going to be able to get those guys in the right direction. And I can expect them to, when they play Southern, to put a lot of guys in the box, try to put some pressure on the quarterback and make him make some accurate throws.
Yes, sir. Now, we know that Purview is going to be facing off with Grambling this week, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. But you touched on how that Grambling Texas Southern game was a bit entertaining, a little close, but there's now some speculation stirring up in Texas Southern camp about the quarterback Body, who was injured, and there's speculation that he might announce that he's going to take a medical red shirt. Some are talking about possibly hitting the portal. Coach McKinney said that he was going to make an announcement yesterday. Today comes, yesterday's gone, and nothing has been said. How distracting can that be to a team getting prepared for a game, Coach?
Man, that's a position that you never want to be in as a coach because you can't give information by law, especially when it deals with an injury. And then you never know what that kid is being told, what his mom and dad is telling him, what his high school coach is telling him. His high school coach, because he has had some success, maybe saying, okay, well, I talked to a coach from here, and if you jump in the portal, they say they'll take you right away. So it's all that kind of stuff that's going on in the background that people don't know about. But, that kid, like I say, he basically has them by the gonads, for a better lack of a better terminology. But
the short and curlies.
Yeah, he can pretty much make any decision that he wants, and Coach McKinney has to live with that decision. Unfortunately, he is the starting quarterback over there, has been the starting quarterback. So whatever he does is going to have a ripple effect either within the team. Because some guys, if he leaves them, going to feel a certain way. And then if he tries to come back, depending on how he is in the locker room, some guys are going to feel a certain way. They're not going to want him around. Some guys don't want him around because he's their friend. So that's one of those delicate situations that you have to deal with. And then you got the alumni that, feel like he maybe give them the best chance to play. And then some people, because he threw 3 interceptions against Prairie View, they still mad about that game. So it's almost a no-win situation for Coach McKinney dealing with that, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I always have noted that Coach McKinney, not that any other coach does not handle it, but he has done things right, building that program, trying to rebuild that program anyway. He went the traditional route. He did sprinkle in some transfers and some JUCO transfers as well as the portal. And you hate to see a guy like that having to go through these particular situations at this time.
Yeah, especially a homegrown guy like he is, having been a coach over there at Yates and from the Houston area, you want to see guys be able to have some production at a school that they've grown up and so fond of. But sometimes it's just it's not cut out that way. It's some other obstacles that are going on. People, they just want to say the man can't coach, but you don't end up, in my opinion, being able to coach at some of the places that he has coached and not be a good coach. They may say, well, all he was a recruiter. Well, every coach is a recruiter. So, but, sometimes things just don't work out. But, he was able to get a pretty good kid in there, and, things just hadn't worked out overall for the program. So, we'll keep our fingers crossed for them and hope things work out for the better over there.
Yes, sir. Now to what I'm going to dub as the feature game. Others might not feel like that, but I graduated from Prairie View, and you got some Grambling ties and some Southern ties. You all tangled up in this thing any way you look at it. Grambling Prairie View, this is another critical game from the West, but from my vantage point, and you correct me if I'm off, sir, although this game is important, we know it's important because it's the next game and the old cliche, but it is a Western Division game. But it's not as important as the game that will take place against Southern in a couple of weeks. But when you look at this game, the historical pendulum that has been up and down for years, Prairie View was the doormat for Grambling, at this game. But it's always been an electrifying game, a great turnout. You, of course, been on both sides of this fence.
Mm-hmm.
What is the mentality like, first of all, from a coach's perspective and a player's perspective, and how do they differ, and how do you keep the even keel as you approach this game?
Like I say, just from a coaching standpoint, my philosophy was, treat every game the same in front of your players. Now, once you get in the office and when you're talking to the alumni groups, that's a whole different ball game. But I can remember when I first started coaching at Grambling, going to the Cotton Bowl for the first time and wondering why in the heck are all these people here to see Grambling and Prairie View play? Because it was a foregone conclusion that Grambling was going to easily win the ball game back then. And it was, it was I can say when I went recruiting, because Dallas was a part of my recruiting area when I first got to Grambling, and I would go maybe on a Thursday and start recruiting the area. And, man, kids would be walking up to me because I would have a Grambling shirt on asking me, are you selling tickets for the game? Or everywhere I went, it was, are you selling tickets for the game? I'm like, man, it's this big. And then when you ride the bus in the fairground, it was eye-opening to me, to say the least. Then when you get in the game and it is packed until halftime. And even then, when we were a recovering Grambling program in the beginning, and those games would still be close until we got real, real good at Grambling. Then it would be, almost from the tap, maybe the first quarter and a half, it would be close. But it's just it was amazing to me how many people were interested in that game. And Grambling, the college almost would be empty starting Thursday around noon with people going to Dallas, because, Grambling had a lot of people from Dallas or the Texas area, East Texas, because I think they got the out-of-state fees waived being a bordering state. But it would be a ghost town when it came to going to the State Fair Classic. So it was big from that standpoint. And I even had people call me, especially when I first moved to Prairie View. They would be in Dallas and like, hey, man, I'm in town. You want to do something? I'm like, where are you? I'm like, oh, I'm at the airport in Dallas. Like, man, Prairie View is not in Dallas. Prairie View is like 4 hours away, closer to Houston. But people just assume, since they played there, that's where Prairie View was, closer to Dallas area. So, I mean, it was funny to me. But, now it's one of those, you don't know who's going to win the game when it comes to Prairie View and Grambling. So it was much needed. And then it took a swing where for a few years in a row, Prairie View was getting the better of Grambling. Now it's sort of, one of those back and forth. You don't never know who's going to win, which is good because it keeps the excitement going. But it's going to be one of those. I think it's going to be a close game. My heart still going to say I think Prairie View is because of the kicking factor that Prairie View has. I think the quarterback play is going to be tit for tat. Both of them going to make some plays in the run game, going to make some throws. But I think Prairie View's running game is going to be a little bit better. And, man, people I want to say the kid's name is Williams, the little bit of running back at Graham. Hey, man, that joker got something special sprinkled on him if he gets to the open field. So they better get him before he gets started, I'll tell you that much.
It reminds you of a young man that you coached by the name of Abel?
He is not as big as Jonte, but he is every bit as fast, maybe not as quick, but he got a little extra gas with him, though.
Okay. Now, we know that this game is going to have everything going on. And what I am really excited about, although I am pulling for the Panthers, I'm excited at how Hugh Jackson has resurrected that offensive side of the ball for the Tigers. And it's taken him a minute or two, but he's finally figured the pieces out that he needs to be successful in this conference.
Yeah, I think he has. They got lucky with a transfer running back last year who I hadn't seen much this year. And he got the transfer quarterback from Alabama State. Like I said, that's a local kid whose family is from that area that's doing pretty good for him. So, and he got a couple wide receivers. He got a couple 6'1" kids that can go up and make some plays, which may give Prairie View's DBs some problems because they're not the biggest of kids. But, if Grambling offensive line gives that quarterback some time, I think he's going to make some throws, but at the same time, he's still a somewhat young kid. And, if he throws over the middle late or try to read inside out, he may make a bad decision with the football. So it's going to be a good game still, I think. But at the end of the day, I think Prairie View is going to pull it out.
Well, I'm hoping that you're right again, sir. And one thing that I am giving a check on the Panthers side is that defensive front. They got a rotation between 8 and 9 guys that they're using. They're mixing and matching and applying some pressure. And it's always made me ask this question: why does defenses settle for the short, fast defensive backs when everybody is going big with the wide receivers?
Man, that's a tough one because, in a lot of places, some schools are putting their better, the 6-foot-tall kids on the defensive side of the ball. But when they still in high school, it's one of those, do I want my name in the paper for touchdowns or interceptions? So a lot of guys will, if they in that 6-foot range, will decide to try to stay on the offensive side of the ball. And you see more of your shorter guys gravitating to the defense side of the ball. One of the last times I was at home, I had a kid that I recruited out of Southern Lab, and I told him he should have played safety for me when I was coaching at Grambling. Well, at the time, we had Bruce Eugene and all those guys throwing the ball all over the place, and he wanted to be the next Scotty Anderson, great receiver coming out of Grambling, and he chose to play wide receiver. And every time he sees me, he say, man, I should have listened to you and played safety. Now, he played some receiver, but it just didn't work out for him, like say, if he would have played defensive back, in my opinion. But it's just something about scoring touchdowns that keeps those 6'1" guys over there. And then, like say, you end up with the shorter guys that may not be able to catch as good playing defensive back. But I would love to take the fifth wide receiver and put them at defensive back and have some success with those guys. We did it when I was at Grambling. We did it when I was at Prairie View. Take some guys that were on the offensive side of the ball and may not be playing that much, but they still have a good skill set, and put them on the defensive side of the ball. Or if it was a two-way guy, I was more in favor of putting them on the defensive side of the ball if they had a little bit of length to them, especially.
Yes, sir. Well, the guy's escaping me right now. Played receiver for the Panthers, and they switched to the defensive end this last year, and ended up getting drafted by the Raiders. Guy running like a gazelle. Oh my goodness! I'm going to remember it after the fact. We do this recording, but that's okay.
Yes.
But anyway, because you can't make up for speed, and you can't make up for height.
That's one thing. Like I was looking up to do some internships with some NFL teams, and that's one of the things. They feel like if you come from a smaller school and can run, no matter how good your coaching was, they feel like you hadn't been coached. So all we need to do is coach up speed. They would say that in the meetings if they took a kid from a 1AA, a small, a MAC, Mountain West type of school, might have been a little bit undersized, but if that kid could run, they feel like we gonna get him strong and fast because he's gonna eat better than he ever ate in his life. And if he got speed, we gonna coach him up, maybe keep him on the practice squad for a year, and take that 220-pound kid and turn him to a 245 or 250-pound kid that can run. That was their thought process, especially when I was in Oakland. They just wanted fast guys that they could coach up. So that's one of those.
Quentin Bell was the guy I was thinking about. Quentin Bell.
You know what? We should have thought about him too because of Quentin Spears came to Prairie View as a wide receiver. And lo and behold, I convinced Coach Frazier to give him to me on the defense side of the ball, just like Jason Hatcher. When he came to Grambling, he was an all-state wide receiver tight end in Louisiana, and we just asked Coach, man, just let us use him for pass rush situations. And he ended up having like a 10-year career in the NFL, all because, he was a wide receiver tight end that wasn't playing a whole lot at Grambling.
Yes, sir. It's amazing, man, how speed can find you a crack in the door, and it's up to you to get on through it, right, Coach?
Yes, yeah. Like they say, speed can't be coached.
That's right. Well, Coach, you owe us a story this week, man. You usually give us a little story that we can chuckle on, and it's time for that, man, before we get out of here. So go ahead and grab us with one, man.
Man, this one, it ain't going to make you chuckle, but, I was talking to somebody about recruiting, and they were talking about why some of the things happen in recruiting or why such and such don't recruit at certain schools. And I'll just tell you a couple of little things. So one, when we were coaching at Grambling, there was a school in Louisiana that their head coach only pretty much met with Power 5 coaches. So when you went to the school, they would ask you who you with, and the secretary pretty much knew, but because we had the same G sort of look as Georgia, they sent us into the head coach's office. So when we get in there and say, oh, no, the guy's like, I hadn't met you guys from Georgia. Say, we not from Georgia. We from Grambling. And he had this look like, almost like, get out. You guys are supposed to be with my recruiting coordinator and not me. Like, who are you guys to come in here and talk to me? So, and that happened more than once. I know a lot of people remember Jay Norvell, who's the head, he just had the big deal with Coach Prime. He's the head coach at Colorado State now.
Colorado State, right. Uh-huh.
So when I was at Prairie View, we were at a school outside of Dallas. I'm not going to say the name, but we were at a school in the suburbs of Dallas. And he was the wide receivers coach at Oklahoma at the time. So the coach was like, okay, you guys come in with me, and I'll run you through these guys. And he was like, you, being me, go with the Prairie View shirt on, you go with such and such. And Coach, he'll probably never remember this, but he said, nah, you come in here with us, Coach. He like you looking out for me, the young black guy from the HBC. Nah, you come on in here with us and sit down. You get these same names because you never know when a kid going to transfer. But, like I say, their recruiting trail is real different. And we always talk about a lot of HBCU coaches and dealing with the alums of school, where we had one situation where a dad calls me, I say a stepdad. So he calls me. His stepson is about 6'4", about 220 pounds. And he is committed to, I'll say, SMU. So he had another son, his biological son, that was right at 6 feet tall. He say, before I get on with him, somebody else called me about him. So I called the dad and like, hey, I'm trying to find out what's going on with your sons. I got some good words on him. And I'm looking at the film on him. I say, well, I see one of your kids, he look like he's about 6'4". He said, yeah, the other one is about the same height. So I'm looking at the film like, there's no way. I could see. I say that kid really looks like he's about 5'11" maybe. He said, you know what, Coach? You sound about right. And I'm saying to myself, man, why would this guy lie to me about how tall his son is? And it's easily verifiable how tall he is. So it's like, you know, people want to say HBCU coaches don't recruit everywhere. Man, that's not true. And then a lot of times people, if they don't want to say why they didn't go to a HBCU, they'll just say they didn't recruit me. Hey, the last one I'd say, I had a lady that I knew. I knew her son was in 11th grade. And I knew that she would say that no HBCU recruited her son, and she was an HBCU grad herself. So I know that this kid, and I know I'm not supposed to call this kid, but because I knew that she would say nobody called, I called her during a quote-unquote dead period. Just say, when I talked to her, I say, I thought he was in 12th grade. Somebody told me that the boy was in 12th grade, but I did it on purpose just so she wouldn't say that no HBCU coach has called or tried to recruit my son. And at the end of the day, he did go to a Power 5 school, had a little shot at the NFL, but she couldn't go around saying that no HBCU tried to recruit her son because I called him during a legal time period on purpose. So hopefully the statute of limitations, on it is gone.
Hey, don't say where you were when you did that, too, because I don't want nobody.
I think I already said I was at Prairie View, but it's too late now. So that was well over 10 years ago. Hey, well, Coach, I'm gonna mess with. I wasn't at Southern or Grambling when I did. I definitely was at Prairie View, but but you know what I'm saying, though.
Oh my goodness, you're throwing us under the bus, Coach. You're throwing us under the bus. That's all right. Hey, but you know what, man? It's always good to talk, and hopefully next week we'll be talking on some good things. At least in your case, it's going to be 2 out of 3 because I'm hoping that Prairie View does hold fast, and I'm hoping that the Jags take care of business. So you have 2 good things to talk about when we get together on next week. How that sound, my man?
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to it because I definitely want that. I think I'm going to go to the Prairie View Southern game in Baton Rouge, so I'm looking forward to it being a packed house if I do make it over to that game. So hopefully the Jaguars will find their way back to the stadium if they beat Pine Bluff.
Okay, well, you know that game is November 11th. I know it seems far, but it'll be up on us before we know it. And we plan on being there too, man. We might have to put a mic in your hand, Coach, and see what we got coming up on that one, man. See what we got coming up on that one. That'll be a good one for you. Okay, he is Coach Heist Northern, football expert here for the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, reminding you that you can listen to the Cotton Bowl right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network on Saturday from Dallas, Texas. Don't forget, you can check it out on the website, obnradio.com. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.